what would you say to anyone who perhaps would like to connect with the nature spirits? What practice can they take, or what advice would you give that's something a little more practical that they can do in case they're just feeling that connection and they just want to go a little deeper?
Yeah, I get asked this quite a lot, and I'm actually currently creating a course on connecting with the fairies. So there will be a connecting with the mermaids part of that course as well for people, and that's coming in the future. But it's because I'm just asked so much. So a really basic, simple way, let's say we want to explore a possible connection with the fairies, is to go out into nature. If you're lucky enough to live near nature, find a tree. If you can't get outside, some people can't get outside, then you can do all of this in your mind with your imagination. Or if you've got a house plant, you can be near that plant, because there will be a living fairy energy with that plant, because it's with all plants. And if you don't have a plant, then you can just look at an image, or, as I said, use your imagination. But ideally, get out into nature, find a tree that you feel drawn to, that it's, if you just kind of let yourself feel, and usually it would be a more mature tree, a bigger tree, an older tree, a wiser tree, and always ask permission to connect with a tree. Trees love being hugged, but equally they love being asked, because they're a living energy, different from us, but they're still a living energy, and there can be this attraction or repelling energy. So it's being sensitive to that. And you can just ask, may I come near you? May I sit with you? And you'll know, you'll just feel a yes or a no, or you'll just know instinctively. Usually, more often than not, it's yes. They love to interact with human energy. And then you would sit with your back against the tree. And I want to say meditation, but that word can put people off. So let's just say being present, being in the moment with the tree. And something very simple that you can say either out loud or in your mind is, fairies, fairies, come to me as I sit beneath this tree. Easy, isn't it? Mm-hmm. And just something simple. You can make up your own way of expressing that. But I just like, what I find is when the fairies connect with me, it's very often in a kind of rhyming, it just comes through in rhymes. And I thought, well, why is that? And it's because it's easy to remember when it comes through, and it's playing. They like to play in all dimensions, with everything, with words, with music, with sounds, with feelings. So I think that's why it does come through in rhyme. And then you would just basically sit and be present for as long as you wish, and just be open and receptive to any changes. And they could be really subtle changes. You might just sense an animal or an insect or something acting in a slightly unusual way, a bit different from normal. You might feel something, it might be really overt, and an acorn might just pop you on the head, or which then fairies can be very playful and a little bit mischievous and naughty. So that sort of thing can happen. If they want your attention, they will get it, especially if you're open to that. And sometimes they'll just be scanning you and checking you out from a distance. So you might not have any immediate experience, a sensation or something. But when you put out that call, it's like an invitation. They will know, they will have seen you, and they'll just be checking you out. Like, what does this human want? Because fairies are naturally and understandably wary of humans because of what present company excluded, but the damage that humans do to nature, chopping down all the trees and the rainforests and all of these things. So it's understandable that a fairy is going to be wary of a human because of that reason. Even though we know that we love nature and we wouldn't do that, they have to just check out our energy. And so they'll kind of read our hearts, they'll scan our hearts to feel, does this person love nature as much as we do? Because they're the guardians of nature, so we have to meet them somewhere. And another way to connect with them would be to show them in your physical, practical actions. If you're out and you see some litter, pick up the litter. When you're at home, what household chemicals are you using? What are you putting down the sink? What are you putting down the toilet? Because all of these things go into nature. So be more conscious, aware, and maybe incorporate more natural products into your lifestyle. And even though it sounds, well, that doesn't sound very magical, but practical is part of, we've all heard of practical magic, haven't we? So
Yeah.
it is almost like being practically magical, and that will bring you on a kind of similar frequency to the fairies. And it is just a waiting game, because if they don't want to connect, they won't, but if they do, they will. They're not there for our beck and call. We can't just summon a fairy. I mean, you might summon something pretending to be a fairy, or you might summon a mischievous fairy. You've got to be very respectful and careful. Not in the sense, we don't worship fairies, we don't worship these beings, but we respect them as energetic equals of another dimension. And we can form friendships with them if we want to. And it is a very fun journey. But once you open that fairy door, like I have, like they've literally been with me my entire life, but I love it because I love that element of just magic just happening in unexpected places at unexpected times. So it is a wonderful journey.